This is just the beginning. To uncover more of humanity's journey in the stars, subscribe and join us for the next thrilling chapter. Before a cliffhanger, right at a pivotal moment in the story, you can tease the next episode with a hint for viewers to subscribe. The Zyler fleet hung like a shadow over Earth, a cold reminder of their prowess and the technology that placed them at the apex of galactic dominance. Their mission brief painted Earth as an insignificant blue speck, its inhabitants little more than savage creatures whose nature had been exaggerated in legends. Yet, the stories intrigued them. They were eager to see if humanity's so-called monstrous nature was real or merely the product of fear and ignorance. The Zyler commander observed his crew with pride, each alien clad in armor that reflected their planet's cold, metallic brilliance. They had conquered countless worlds before. This one would be no different, he thought. For the Zyler, conquest was routine, each campaign quick, efficient, and uncontested. Earth, however, offered a break from monotony, a chance to test their latest technology on legends. As they descended, he smirked at the absurdity of humans ever posing a threat. Initial contact went as expected. Earth's military defenses were primitive in comparison, their weaponry outdated and ineffective against Zyler shields. Humans scrambled, and within hours, the cities lay smoking under the Zyler's superior force. Yet, the commander noticed a peculiar detail. Despite the devastation, the humans showed no signs of surrender. Each attack was met with pockets of fierce resistance, bands of soldiers and civilians alike rising against the invaders in an astonishing display of resolve. While the commander dismissed this as foolish defiance, there was an unease that spread across the Zyler ranks. They encountered survivors who displayed raw, unyielding resilience. Though their weapons couldn't match the aliens, the humans didn't retreat. If anything, they fought harder the closer they were to defeat. These were not the cowering primitives the Zyler had anticipated. Instead, they were something far more unpredictable. As the Zyler moved deeper into Earth's territories, they began witnessing humanity's cunning. It wasn't brute strength but a chilling, adaptive intelligence that surfaced under pressure. Earth's defenses were no longer about holding the line. They were transforming into tactical ambushes, each carefully orchestrated to expose the Zyler's vulnerabilities. The Zyler ground units began to feel an unfamiliar sensation creeping in: fear. Human ingenuity turned common landscapes into traps. Suburbs transformed into tactical mazes, cities into traps, and nature itself was weaponized. To their horror, the Zyler realized that humans could turn anything into an instrument of war. Rivers were poisoned, forests filled with lethal traps, and their bioweapons turned against them. It was as if Earth itself rejected the Zyler's presence, guided by the minds of those determined to make every inch of ground fought for bleed. The humans proved relentless, striking where they were least expected, adapting as fast as the Zyler adjusted their tactics. What disturbed the aliens most wasn't the humans' technology but their willingness to go beyond conventional warfare. It wasn't savagery but a cold, calculated fury that met them, a willingness to blur ethical lines, to prioritize survival over all else. For the Zyler, this resolve felt more monstrous than any brutal force they had ever encountered. The human leaders gathered in underground bunkers, reviewing every scrap of data they could salvage. No one spoke of surrender. Instead, engineers, scientists, and strategists worked around the clock, repurposing anything with even a hint of tactical value. Satellite components, civilian drones, repurposed manufacturing robots, nothing was left untouched. While Earth's traditional defenses lay in ruins, its people transformed what remained into tools of survival, adapting with a speed that defied all the Zyler had prepared for. On the front lines, the resistance formed, an eclectic mix of soldiers, medics, hackers, engineers, and everyday citizens, each one adding their own spark to humanity's new arsenal. With limited weaponry, they relied on tactics born from desperation and creativity, striking where the Zyler least expected. Electrical grids were rewired to trap unwelcome visitors, sewer systems became escape routes, and communications infrastructure evolved into a resilient network of civilian signals, immune to the Zyler's interference. Human forces began to experiment with the psychological effect of fear. Alien supply drops were intercepted and returned to them, altered, with cryptic human messages in languages they couldn't decipher. Snippets of music, unsettling images, and stories from humanity's past wars echo through hacked alien comms, painting a picture of Earth as a place no conqueror should tread lightly. The zyler, accustomed to predictable resistance, found themselves unraveling under these unconventional attacks. The zyler commander, once so confident in Earth's easy fall, began to question their mission. Reports from the front lines grew increasingly disturbing. Zyler soldiers, highly disciplined and trained, were falling back, not from overwhelming firepower but from the eerie, strategic precision that met them at every turn. When a squad went silent, it was discovered that they had been taken down with a mix of human traps and guerrilla tactics that displayed the kind of calculated ruthlessness they hadn't anticipated. The realization hit hard. Humans fought not just with weapons but with their very environment, molding Earth into a battlefield that only they knew intimately. And the cost for the zyler was rising, each day met with new countermeasures that exploited the terrain, the climate, even their own arrogance. The tactics defied expectation, bending logic, as though humans had crafted an art form out of defiance. For the first time, the zyler commander wondered if they had underestimated the true power of desperation mixed with ingenuity. Humans began a new campaign, not just to defeat the zyler physically but to break their spirit. The resistance coordinated psychological strikes, leaving unsettling messages in the aftermath of battles. Zyler patrols found cryptic symbols carved into walls and alien weapons reconfigured into gruesome sculptures that defied any straightforward interpretation. It wasn't brutality for its own sake, it was a calculated attempt to plant fear deep in the minds of their invaders, a fear the zyler weren't prepared to understand. The zyler soldiers, once unshakable, started to question every sound, every shadow. Their own equipment began malfunctioning, seemingly tampered with by invisible hands. Every attempt to advance brought them face to face with a fresh form of resistance. Commanders couldn't explain it, and soldiers could only describe it as if Earth itself were turning against them. Zyler morale, once bolstered by confidence in their superiority, started to erode under the silent, haunting presence of an enemy that refused to break, even under overwhelming odds. It wasn't the human strength that terrified the zyler. It was their resilience and determination. Reports from frontline units painted a picture of a species that could suffer losses unimaginable to the zyler and still return with even greater force. For the humans, the fight wasn't just about survival. It was a defiance against extinction, a battle to defend every inch of a home they refused to relinquish. And that sense of purpose reverberated through every tactic, every choice, until the zyler couldn't distinguish between resistance fighters and civilians. The zyler commanders found themselves increasingly isolated, their confidence corroding under the constant barrage of resistance. For all their technology, they couldn't understand why they couldn't break the human spirit. They couldn't grasp how each loss seemed to make the humans fight harder, as if every setback only fueled a deeper resolve. To the zyler, this wasn't natural, it was monstrous. Earth's defenders, in their unyielding defiance, had become something the zyler hadn't anticipated, creatures that turned their desperation into power, creatures that fought like they had nothing left to lose, even when they had everything at stake. In the final stages of the conflict, humanity launched a relentless, coordinated strike, consolidating all remaining resources and every ounce of their strength. The zyler were met with a wall of resistance stronger than they'd ever seen, humanity's last stand. The humans' plan was clear: drive the invaders off Earth once and for all, using strategies refined from months of brutal survival. Every human front, from hardened soldiers to once civilians, fought with a singular purpose, making it clear that Earth was not theirs to take. The zyler commanders, realizing the depth of the threat, made one last push, deploying their most powerful units in a desperate attempt to regain control. Yet, at every turn, they encountered humans who fought with a terrifying unity, a precision that only survival's desperation could bring. There were no weak points, no gaps, no signs of faltering. As zyler forces faltered under the sheer force of human determination, the realization struck them with undeniable clarity: they had never faced an enemy like this. In a final encounter, a zyler commander found himself facing a group of human defenders. He expected pleas for mercy or signs of retreat, but instead, he saw unwavering resolve in their eyes. They spoke to him calmly, making it clear that Earth would be defended with every last breath, that humanity would never surrender, no matter the cost. It was at that moment the commander understood what made humans truly monstrous, not in savagery but in an unbreakable will that thrived on adversity. The zyler retreated, their forces battered, their morale shattered. In their departure, they carried a message back to their people. Earth was a place of true monsters, not because of brute force but because of a fierce resilience no other species had shown them. For the humans, survival wasn't a matter of power but a refusal to submit. And as Earth's defenders watched the invaders disappear, they knew they had shown the galaxy what humans truly were, beings capable of transforming desperation into a weapon and refusing defeat against even the most impossible odds.